This conference will now be recorded.
headsets ఇవ్వలేకపోతే
Hello everyone, good morning. Okay, yeah, thanks for joining this demo session. Welcome everyone. Okay, can someone please confirm if you can see my screen and can you also hear me? Please do confirm.
Yes, we are able to see your screen and we are able to listen your voice.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the confirmation. Okay, so today we are going to actually discuss about this course demo, like course overview. So this is about Azure Administrator demo. So it's I would say certification oriented course. It's completely certification oriented course. All the content that as per the certification we are going to cover. So let us see in detail what we are going to cover, and the agenda mainly would be discussing about cloud basics, and then followed by discussing about our course outline, then what we're going to discuss in the course, and then how you can actually attempt the exam. Then we are also going to compare a little bit with the competitors out there in cloud. So why Azure is actually uh, doing outstanding right now, and why you should learn Azure Administrator rather GCP or AWS. So those details we are going to discuss today as part of a course agenda. Okay, so I just wanted to understand how many of you are kind of completely unaware of Azure. Maybe you can just raise your hand. So on your left side, you have an option to raise your hand. Left bottom corner. How many? Let me repeat the question again. How many of you are completely unaware of Azure cloud? Completely new to cloud. So which means you all are already aware of cloud. That's great. Okay, so how many of you are aware of Azure? At least maybe have some basics or worked somewhere, already working on it. So maybe let me change the question. How many of you are currently working with Azure? Okay. Yeah, I see still people joining it. So I'm just buying some time uh, until others join. Okay, so let's move on. So I'm Shankar. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I did close to 5-6 certifications in Azure. I am certified Azure administrator. Then I am also a solution architect certified, and Azure security engineer certified, DevOps engineer, and Azure virtual desktops certified. So yeah, this is about me. I'm currently working for a startup organization as a solution architect. So I help organizations in designing solution, architecting solutions for organizations. Then I'll hand over that architecture to administrators to actually build that setup. So that's all. That's what I do. So I have close to 6.5 years of experience into IT, and close to 5 years into Azure itself alone. So Okay, so let us discuss about the certifications. Okay, so this right now you're actually here. You're actually in a training of this Azure administrator. So somewhere in the middle of it. So I would say. So before this, you have some basics Azure 900. Yeah, before I cover before I move on, so I just want to set some ground rules for this demo. In case if you have any questions, queries, concerns, you can raise them. Yeah, you can raise them. Can you guys hear me? Can you confirm? Someone said we cannot hear. Not yet started. Bala, can you not hear me?
Shankar, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I was saying is, in case if any of you have any doubts, questions, concerns, you can either post in a chat or you can interrupt me then and there and ask me. And my kind request is, in case if you're not speaking, please go on mute so that let others will actually uh, attend the session, without any noise, etc. Okay, so that's my request. Okay, so yeah, as I said, we are right now at here. So but if you want to, uh, before this, you have AZ-900, which is Azure Fundamentals. Okay, that Azure Fundamentals is something not a mandatory one. It's optional. You can see 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars. So AZ-900 is not a mandatory one. So what you basically will learn in AZ-900 is, so you are just going to see kind of a tour of services. Like let's say you want to visit Ramoji Film City, so you'll just go in a bus and you'll in a day you'll completely see what are all there and you'll come back, right? Something like that. So what Microsoft has done is they have built this course to actually give you a complete tour of Azure services. So this is mainly useful for business leaders like CEOs, higher management people, and also whoever currently working in a different technology. Let's say you are a Python developer, but you also want to have some exposure on Azure. Your work will be Python itself, but you want to gain some exposure on Azure, then you will simply attend this to just like just to see a tour of it, like Azure, what are all services there are there. So all that information you'll be able to see. So that's all it is going to help you with. But additional, you will not gain any in-depth knowledge. So that knowledge is definitely not going to help you in clearing interview or in to work as well. So that this certification is definitely not going to give you any job for sure. So for you to get some job and work on it, and then that is when you have to at least have a 2 star certification. So be it anything. So either an administrator or a developer or a security. So be it anything or a data, but you must at least gain some 2 star. So that's my actually suggestion. So this is actually AZ-900, but you also have AI 900, DP 900. There are multiple different fundamentals courses that Microsoft has designed. But those certifications definitely will not give you a job for sure. So you must at least hold some 2 star certification to actually that will give you some edge in the interview. So if you ask me, is the certification is mandatory? I'll definitely say no, it's not mandatory. But in a competitive world, so definitely, but it will give you some edge. Let's say there are two members attending interview, and one guy has a certification and the other guy doesn't have a certification. So let's say two guys applied for a job. One guy has a certification, other guy doesn't have a certification. So the interviewer might only call the guy who has certification. So that is where you're actually losing an opportunity just because you doesn't have a certification. Probably once you get an interview call, maybe then you will be able to prove yourself and then get a job. But to reach there, you must get an interview call, right? So that's very important. So these kind of competitive edge that you'll get with a certification. So and also it will help you in testing your knowledge. So that's also another thing. And if you are in India, so Microsoft offers very the certification at a very lesser price, which is 5,600. But if you are in US, I think they'll charge you somewhere around 165 USD. So That's about this certification, 2-star certification. You must have this certification. Let's say you actually attended this training and you struggled a bit, and then you did a certification, then you got a job, you started working on it, and then after a few months, 6 months, 1 year, or maybe 1.5 years, then if you think, okay, what's next? So if you have something like, you're someone who really want to learn something new and move on with the latest technology and get good opportunities out there. If you already worked for at least a year or 1.5 year in Azure, so then if you think what's next, then this is the next. So you can either go with this Azure solution architect expert, or you can go with Azure DevOps expert. So that's actually the next things for you. So so this is actually mandatory for both. So this Azure administrator is mandatory for to reach Azure solution architect, and also to reach Azure DevOps engineer expert. So for both of these certifications, those are 3-star certification. For both of these, Azure administrator is mandatory. So you must actually certify this. Then once you clear this certification, then you'll get this expert badge. So that will be your next goal. So that will be end of like reaching something like a expert level. So for that, you must definitely have some uh, practical exposure into Azure. So you must already work at least 6 months, 1 year into Azure. So that is when you'll be able to clear these certifications and get these badges, and then you can actually. So yeah, as I said, certifications are not mandatory, but they'll give you edge. So that's what I try to say. Next, let's move on. Yeah. So let's say you completed this course. Let's say you completed this course and you cleared a certification as well, and you got you want to actually apply some jobs. And what kind of jobs that you want to apply? What are best suitable for you? And what will be your roles and responsibilities in your new role? So the answer is, so so the mainly what you will be working on is a couple of IaaS services, the very few important IaaS services. One is storage, networking, compute, then monitoring, backup. So these are the main important areas that you will focus into. So they are actually IaaS services. I'll talk about IaaS, PaaS, SaaS later in later slides. But yeah, so what a cloud administrator basically will do is, let's say I am a customer. I am a customer. What I would say, what I would ask Azure admin is, um, uh, hey admin, I actually need one website to be built. So I might actually ask like this: actually need a website to be built. Then Azure admin will ask, okay, that's totally possible, but can you give some configuration details? What do you want? I mean, how much size VM that you want me to create, and what is the IP address that you want me to set? So all these details an Azure admin will gather from the customer. Then once he gets all the details, he will actually create that setup. Then he will hand over that to customer. That doesn't stop there, but an administrator will also manage the infrastructure. So once he handed over, later on if he get any issues, any problems, then he will again reach out to Azure admin. Azure admin will again help with the uh, solution or troubleshooting. In case if he's not able to fix it, he can always reach out to Microsoft for support. That is also there. And then destroying as well. So let's say the customer doesn't require this application anymore, then definitely if he asks us to destroy, so you can destroy to save some cost. So that is also will be done by Azure admin. So Azure administrator is someone who actually gathers some information, gathers the requirements from customers, and actually build that infrastructure, and then hand over that infrastructure to customers. So yeah, that's what cloud administrator will do. If you want to be and to actually do all this setup, so you mostly if you are actually in an initial stage of your Azure, just now started Azure, then you will mainly use Azure portal. If you're someone already experienced, maybe 6 months, 1 year experienced into Azure, then more likely you may use PowerShell or command line interface, and also infrastructure as a code, ARM templates or a Terraform, or Bicep. That's a new tool that Microsoft has released. So you might use those tools. So if you're in initial stage, I would strongly recommend you to actually use Azure Portal, so that is when you will see the components. You'll actually get a little more exposure. So once you're actually confident with Azure, and then you can actually slowly transition yourself to PowerShell. Either of one is enough, if you ask me. You don't really need to be expert in both of command line interface or PowerShell. One tool should be more than enough for you, because both does the same job. PowerShell is a person who is from a Windows background will choose PowerShell. A person who is from a Linux background or a development background will choose a Linux command line interface. And finally, if you want to be successful as an Azure administrator, you should have some, you should gain some good knowledge into operating systems, virtualization, cloud infrastructure, storage structures, and networking. These are the 5 areas you must gain some good solid knowledge to actually be successful in cloud administrator role. Yeah, so there are prerequisites for this course. Yeah, trust me, guys. This is not, this is not a simple certification that you can just simply clear, like you cleared AZ-900. This definitely will require definitely require some efforts from your side as well. So I am going to show you everything. I'm going to cover each and every topic, and I'm going to show you a demo as well. But at the same time, would also requires your cooperation with quality. Spending quality time into the training, attending actively, then and also doing practice regularly. That is very, very important, I would say. Coming to prerequisites, for this to attend this course, actually you need some knowledge into virtualization and virtual networking. Yeah, basically some knowledge into virtualization, then some knowledge into networking, like TCP/IP, DNS, virtual private networks, firewalls, encryption technologies. Then some knowledge into Active Directory as well, such as users, groups, role-based access control. Then some knowledge into backup, restore, disaster recovery. So just you don't really need to have practical exposure into these, but as long as you know what is what, that should be more than enough. But even if you're not aware of any of these things, please don't worry, because initial few days, 2 to 3 days, we are going to spend time only on these basics. I'm going to the idea is to actually bring everyone up to speed and then start the training. So initial few days we'll focus on basics itself. We'll cover virtualization, networking, Azure Active Directory, and backup, restore, disaster recovery. All these basics we'll cover initial few days. Then we'll actually start off with actual Azure training. Any questions before I move on? Do you guys have any questions? I would like to take a few questions.
Sorry, sir. I'm basically from PMO background, so will I be able to suit for this training or
Yeah, this is best suitable for you, I would say. In fact, once upon a
is there,
time, yeah, yeah.
even though I don't know any knowledge on networking concepts and all, because I have knowledge on Windows and all, but I don't know networking TCP/IP concepts. So can I go through
Yeah,
the basics for?
you actually don't need any knowledge. I would say even a college hire also can actually attend this, because we are actually covering from ground level.
Okay, so if I go to this training first, and after that, can I go to DevOps to get to I want to move to DevOps side. So first I need to take this one, or is this fine?
Yeah, actually, so when you say DevOps, uh, are you actually interested in just DevOps? Are you interested in Azure DevOps? Are you interested in
Azure,
AWS
Azure,
DevOps? Okay, so if you're
Azure.
interested in Azure DevOps, I would strongly recommend you to attend this training. So then you can actually attend DevOps, because Microsoft has designed a solution, like the badge, which is to reach Azure DevOps Engineer Expert, you must have two certifications. One is AZ-104, then AZ-400. So you're attending AZ-104. So once you are done with this, then you can actually focus on AZ-400, and that is when you will actually finish complete, the path, I would say. Azure DevOps Engineer Expert is something you'll reach there. Then I think that will give you very good opportunities for sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any other? I have two questions in chat. What is the scope of getting a job? Okay, that's a good question. So the scope of getting a job. Okay, so I'll actually, because I also look at some outside how actually the trend is looking like. What are the opportunities looks like, and different roles and responsibilities that organizations are looking for. So in recent times, what I've observed is in every Azure related job, you will definitely have Azure admin related stuff. When I say Azure admin related, like in every job role, what they'll ask, you must have some knowledge into IaaS, managing IaaS, which is virtual machines, maybe containers, and then networking, storage. Along with those, they will add some additional tools. Maybe you also must have some knowledge into CI/CD. You also must have some knowledge into some different components. So they're like nowadays there is no direct I would say direct job, like only if you just have Azure admin, they'll directly take you. So there is no direct thing actually. If you just have a AZ-400, they'll give you a job. Azure DevOps, they'll give you a job. It's something like they're actually doing a mix and match. They're tweaking their roles and responsibility a little bit. They're trying to get a person who is actually have some knowledge into kind of a wide areas. They should also have some knowledge into Azure admin, that is for sure. Along with that, they should also have some knowledge into maybe at least 1-2 tools in DevOps. Maybe CI/CD, or CI/CD is a main commonly seen thing for me. If you just complete this course and just learn about Azure pipelines, or Jenkins, CI/CD, only that one tool is more than enough, if you ask me. Then you can actually use that as well in your resume, saying I also have some knowledge into CI/CD. Then definitely I'm very much sure that you might definitely get a lot of calls, is what I have observed, because I've been guiding such certain people, so they're actually getting a lot of calls every week. Every week at least they get 5 to 10 calls for same role, Azure admin, with a few tools, few different tools. So that's how actually you transition yourself, because right now if you ask me, there is no like if you complete AZ-104 Azure admin, you get a job directly. So if you complete AZ-30 architect, you get a job direct architect. If you complete Azure DevOps, you get a Azure DevOps job. So they are kind of a mix of all these, is what I observed. So you'll definitely get job opportunities, because in roles and responsibilities, in JD, job description of any job, you will see 60 to 70% of Azure admin itself. Remaining 30-40 percentage, job to job, you have to just learn a little bit and then attempt it. And then I have another scope. What is it? Okay, I think I covered both questions. Seems to be same, so I covered it. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, I'll take. Yeah, yes, someone on mute. Yes, Deepak.
Yeah. So I'm from an automation background. So
Mhm.
there will be any, I mean, sir, any coding involved in this part, admin part?
Okay, so yes, so you're an automation side, because you will definitely have some edge in learning this. The reason being, so as I said, initially you'll start with Azure Portal, but later on slowly you'll actually transition yourself using Azure PowerShell, CLI, and then ARM templates, Terraform. So if you're an automation side, that will give you some edge to you. So because you already have some knowledge into automation, so that will definitely give some edge. Coding is not, I would say it's not there. So because Azure admin is something you can, even if you are not even if you don't have any coding knowledge, you can still survive by doing everything from portal. But if you are actually, if you have some automation knowledge, coding knowledge, then definitely that will give you some edge. You can do things faster. So that's what the idea. So initially you'll start with portal, Azure portal, then slowly you'll transition towards automation side. So that may take some time for someone who doesn't is not aware of. but someone like you who is already into automation will give you an edge. But this is a very nice course for you to attend, is what I can say. Because even a DevOps engineer also will, who has a complete DevOps knowledge but doesn't have any infra knowledge. DevOps itself, it's a combination of development and operations, right? So who has a complete, DevOps like CI/CD and DevOps build, configure CI/CD and stuff like that, but who doesn't have knowledge into infra will actually also attend this training and to actually learn about how to set up infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now the question is, what is cloud computing? Okay, any answers from your side? What's your actually take on cloud computing? What is cloud computing? Anyone? Any brave soul? Okay, so let me cover. So cloud computing is delivery of computing services over an internet that enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. So what does it mean? So I mean, we have reached a place like where we're already taking cars as a rent. We are taking bikes as a rent. We of course we take houses rent, right? So that is a very common thing. We take items as rent. So nowadays, renting things has become very common. So you don't want to purchase something, you just only use it when then and there when you need. So let's say renting a car is a very common thing you notice, right? So you actually go and rent a car in Zoom car, maybe Zoom car or Ola, Uber, then you actually use it. So only let's say on a weekend you want to go for a trip, you actually will rent a car and then you'll go for a trip and come back and return it. You might spend hardly maybe 10,000 15,000 rupees for it. But if you want to own the same car, you might have to spend 10 to 15 lakhs rupees. It depends on the car to car, right? So renting is something, someone who really want to just use it on demand, and then once the work is done, hand it over. So don't want to actually manage that. So someone will prefer that. So cloud is also something like that. So in olden days, like back in 10 to 15 years ago, we used to actually purchase our own servers. Every organization used to purchase their own servers and actually manage this servers in their own, maybe a data center. Data center is a building that has all the IT infrastructure. When I say IT infrastructure, servers, networking, storage, everything. So back in those days, all organizations used to actually uh, have their own data centers, buildings, their own separate buildings, and they used to purchase. They used to send a purchase order to purchase these items, and then they'll configure and they'll manage the servers and storage, networking. But nowadays the trend is cloud computing. No organization want to completely manage themselves. They actually want to rely on some big organization who will actually provide these services on a rental basis, who charges just per hour basis, and also at a economic price, so that's important. So that is when cloud computing has actually come in picture. So basically it has started somewhere around in 2006 with Amazon AWS. Since then it is doing really well, because a lot of organizations are seeing a huge benefit out of it, because they are able to directly focus on their innovation, whatever the product that they want to build, and they are able to focus on the they're also getting these services, compute, networking, storage at a very economical price. So that's another important thing. So that's the reason a lot of organizations actually started moving towards cloud computing. So again, the cloud computing is nothing but delivering services. Um, when I say services, compute, networking, storage, there are a lot of analytics, there are a lot of different services over an internet to everyone all over the globe. So you will be able to, let's say you're actually using an iPad, but you actually want to work for your organization. So I mean, you're working for an organization, and all of a sudden probably your laptop gone dead, and you actually want to work from your iPad. So nowadays organizations actually providing virtual desktops in cloud, right? Virtual desktops directly, where even if you're on iPad, so you'll be able to actually use a application to actually open your virtual desktops and directly manage it from there, manage your work from there. So that's something, is possible only with the cloud. It's definitely not possible without a cloud, right? So you're able to get a desktops over an internet. So over an internet, that's a huge thing, right? So that is where, cloud is actually trending right now. So, and that's only one example. There are a lot of different examples. Let's say you're actually you have some nice idea in your mind, and you want to actually implement that, and for that you need a website to be built. So in let's say same idea, same website that you want to build, if you have the same thing maybe 15 years before, what you would do is you'll actually spend at least maybe a 2 lakhs 3 lakhs rupees. It costs more than that. I'm just saying some number, approximate figures, to actually purchase a server. Server is something, a big machine which can handle bigger things, which can handle a multi stuff, like, uh, a laptop is something you only, it's a client, I would say. So you only just use it when you need, and you don't keep it running 24/7, right? But server is something you keep it 24/7 running, because you want, it does a bigger job compared to a laptop. Okay, so you purchase that server, and then you actually configure, you install operating system, you configure, and then you insert a storage whatever is required. Then finally it will take at least a week time to 2 weeks time to to actually get your website ready. It's because you need money to actually purchase it, and you also need manpower. In the sense, you also need professionals who can actually install operating system and configure IIS, and also you also should have some developers who can actually develop the code and everything to you. So to maintain that, you definitely all the time. So you need to keep that in a particular location. You need to have some security person to actually watch it all the time. So for all, to do all this setup, you might at least spend maybe 10 lakhs to 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs sometimes. So that's an investment for you, initial investment. For a person who has some idea to actually build a website, to implement that idea, he has to invest 20 lakhs initially, back in 15 years before I'm talking about this. But right now, the same idea that you have, you can actually build the same website within maybe an hour or two, if you, provided you have a code already, within an hour or two. That's actually a maximum time I'm saying. You can even build that less than that time itself, and without paying even a single NP. As long as you just have a credit card with you, you can open up a free trial. In fact, Microsoft is going to give you 14,000 rupees credits for initial 28 days. So you're actually getting some money returned to you, in back to you for initial 1 month, and you can actually build your website. At the end of the first month, you can actually convert that to pay as you go model. So where you will only pay like whatever you use. So that's you're not actually investing anything. You're only investing your idea. You're directly going ahead and building it. So you see a lot of difference in this, right? So that is the reason a lot of startups, you might see many new organization might have come because of the cloud, because uh, even anyone who has idea, they can actually come up, and they can actually, because they don't actually invest much, because they'll spend money on the go. Let's say in first quarter they'll get some profit. With the profit or loss, they'll pay only for that hourly basis charge. So they're not spending huge money initially. So that doesn't actually put any pressure onto them, so they can actually focus on their product. So that's another idea. And also, not only small organization, but also big Fortune 500 organizations also, they are into cloud. 95, in fact 95% of Fortune 500 companies, they are into Azure. So that's actually fact. Okay, let's see the benefits of cloud. I have already called out couple of, but let's see some of them again. Cost is one main benefit that I already called out. So where you don't really need to invest any money, so you'll only pay as you go model, like pay as you use model on hourly basis. Global scale, because all this. So do you see any cloud provider, do you see any small organization as a cloud provider? No, right? Can you call out any cloud provider which is a small organization which is widely popular? So let's call out a couple of cloud providers. One is AWS, which has a high market share at the moment. Then Azure, which is in second. and then you have GCP, then you have Alibaba, IBM. So are these organizations are small organizations or big organizations? They are very big, right? So why only a big organization starts this cloud computing? Why not a small organization start this? Because the reason is simple. So these big organizations, they can invest huge money into it, because initial investment will definitely require to set up data center all over the globe. So they'll do a huge investment into one is to set up data center across the globe, and then other one is to have a very secure environment, because security only will give confidence to their customers. Even if you invest money, if the data center is not secure, and if the Azure, if let's say if someone knows Azure is not secure, then definitely no customer will show interest to move on. So they'll invest billions of dollars into security, and also they'll invest money into set up the infrastructure. That is only possible with a big organization. So that's the reason you see a big organizations having this setup. So with the cloud, you'll be able to reach globally. You can sit in Hyderabad and you can actually create a website in US, and also in London, UK, in Singapore as well. So is that possible in 15 years ago? So you have to visit Singapore or London or US, and you have to actually purchase a server there, and then you have to find out a place. I would say co-location, like someone is already owning, you'll take it as a rent, and you'll host your server, and then you'll configure a website. It takes at least a day's time for you, and also investment money that you spend, huge money. So that's another thing. Then coming to performance, of course, when you have a website near to your users, of course the performance will be better. And also these organizations will completely, they'll actually have some life cycle mechanism, like every server within 3 years to 5 years, they'll actually renew it, they'll replace with a new hardware. So that's another best practice they follow, and they'll always keep up to date with the patches or everything. So that again will improve the performance. And security is something I already said. They'll invest, these cloud providers will invest huge money for security. Speed, the amount of time it takes for you to actually build this setup. So it doesn't even take, if you want to create a server, you'll be able to create in few minutes. Productivity, when most of the things are taken care by cloud providers, that is Microsoft Azure, uh, you can directly focus on your development, or the actual deliverables. Reliability is something, reliability is an important thing. So even if something goes bad, you should be able to bring your data, your application back to normal. So that is something very important. All cloud providers offers that. Backup, disaster recovery is something is available in all cloud providers. Of course in Microsoft Azure it is there. So there are three types of clouds. One is public cloud. Public cloud is nothing but a cloud that is that can be used by everyone, that can be accessed by everyone, purchased and used by everyone. That's actually public cloud. Example: Azure, AWS, GCP. All these clouds are public cloud. Then private cloud. Private cloud is something you own in your own on premises. You purchase hardware and you keep it uh, in your own premises, and you use it. That is private to you. So that's called private cloud. Hybrid cloud is nothing but combination of both public and private cloud. So where you actually own your own servers in your own on premises, along with those you'll also actually purchase some servers or VMs or some services resources in uh, cloud public cloud providers like Azure, AWS, GCP. So that combination of both is called hybrid cloud. So you'll see, let us see some pros and cons of this. So public cloud, for public cloud, you don't need a capital expenditure. Applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. Organizations pay only for what they use. For private cloud, hardware must be purchased from startup and maintenance. You need to spend initial investment, and organizations have complete control over the resources and security, because it's your premises. It's your responsibility to ensure that everything's secure, and it's your responsibility to install patches and updates, and managing and maintaining. So everything is in our control. That is when you'll have more control on the infrastructure. Then coming to then organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates, is what I said. Then hybrid cloud.
Hybrid cloud is combination of these two. This provides more flexibility, and the organization determine where to run their application. They can run sensitive application in a private cloud. They can run non-sensitive applications in public cloud. So it depends from organization to organization. And the organization controls security, compliance, and legal requirements, because some organizations politically they might not allow to actually store their data into a cloud in a different organization. So in those cases, they will actually store the data in their on-premises, but they'll actually host servers in the cloud. So they will actually integrate with there will be connectivity tools. We will actually, while we are actually covering the training, so I'll call out all those tools. And within the cloud, again, you'll have two different service comparison. So one is IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, then PaaS, platform as a service, then SaaS, software as a service. IaaS is something, which is a example for IaaS is a virtual machine. Let me show you what is IaaS. Okay, so it's on premises. If you see private cloud, this is how it look like, where storage, networking, compute, virtual machine, operating system, runtime, application data, everything will be managed by you. But if you look at IaaS, storage, networking, compute is something will be managed by cloud provider, in this case Microsoft Azure, and rest virtual machine, operating system, runtime, application data will be managed by us as a customers. So example for this is a virtual machine, containers, virtual machines, containers, VMSs, virtual machine scale sets, storage, networking, all these are considered as IaaS. Coming to PaaS. PaaS is something storage, which is a platform as service, where storage, networking, compute, virtual machine, operating system, runtime, these all will be provided, will be taken care by Microsoft. They'll only give access to you applications and data. So this is actually example for this: a web app, mobile app, a function app, all applications. So where you'll only be given access to application and data, you will actually develop your own code and you will actually publish that code and you get your application ready. So you don't actually really bother about the operating system or hardware running actually underlying. So that will be taken care by Microsoft. Here, this will be with this you'll be able to focus more onto your development rather on focusing on IT infrastructure. And then last you have SaaS, software as service. Example for this, as I said, web apps, mobile apps, function apps. These are the good examples. Coming to SaaS, software as a service. Here in this case, until applications will be managed by Microsoft, only data and access will be given to you. The best example for this is O365 Dynamic CRM, and if you see examples from other vendors like Amazon, Amazon application, all these no applications are different, but examples can be, I can say, YouTube, Google. They are actually SaaS. They are hosted into cloud. They are hosted into cloud, and they will be given to customers for a direct use. Customers cannot actually configure them. Customers cannot actually modify that application, so they can only just access the data. Only their profiles they can manage. So this is about SaaS. So in a nutshell, if you see a summary of it, IaaS provides more flexibility because you'll have more control and you configure manage hardware for your application. PaaS actually doesn't give you that flexibility, but will give you more focus on an application development. Platform manages everything there, so you don't have any control. SaaS, it's a pay-as-you-go model, pricing model. You pay for a software subscription. You purchase a O365 license, let's say E3, E5, and you start using it. So you don't really bother like about development of it and managing of it. So that is taken care by Microsoft. You pay on a monthly subscription charge and you'll start using it. And coming to regions. So how many regions does Microsoft has? First of all, what is region? A region is actually a collection of one or more data centers. One or more data center. Again, what is data center? Data center is a building, a physical building that contains servers, networking, storage, and its cooling mechanism and electricity, everything. So that's actually a data center. A collection of one or more data centers is called a region. So Microsoft Azure has close to 60 plus regions. This is actually a little old data, I would say, maybe a few months old data. But if you see current data, it might change. You might see it 65 plus or 70 plus. So Microsoft across globe, Microsoft has close to 60 plus regions. So you see multiple different symbols here. Complete blue is something, a region that has a single data center, at least one data center. Complete blue. And blue with a single, small white dot, where you have at least three data centers. Within that, we call it as availability zones. An availability zone is nothing but an availability zone will have at least three data centers in that region. So let us actually look at our example in India. India, you have South India. South India, they actually they hosted in Chennai. In Central India, they hosted in Pune. I think in West India, they hosted somewhere in Kolkata, if I'm not wrong. So let's say in Chennai city, uh, maybe in Chennai city, this is actually single region, which means they only have single data center. West India is again single, means they only have single data center. But in Central India, they have some different symbol. What does it mean? It's announced availability zones. It's announced, but not yet actually publicly available. So maybe probably once it is available. So in Pune, you'll have three different data centers. So those three different data centers won't be located nearby. They will be like three different corners of the city. They will be located. And those three different data centers will have a separate electricity, separate cooling mechanism, separate electricity. When I say in Hyderabad, you have TSSPDCL and TNSPDCL, right? Uh, so like this, you will get a supply for TSSPDCL for one data center, and you'll get a supply from different electricity provider from another vendor, and you also will get these two are done. So if you want, if you have another data center, you get a electricity from some other state, maybe Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, or Andhra Pradesh. So these three data centers will have a separate electricity, so that even if complete electricity gone for one data center, you will still have other data centers available, because they don't have same electricity supply, right? And they will have a separate cooling mechanism, and they'll have yeah, so more everything is separate. So even if one goes down, that doesn't actually affect another data center, and they will be a little far, like three corners of the city. So that is how they build. They will have high speed connectivity. Most probably they'll have a fiber channel cable laid out from one data center to another data center, because they are within city itself, right? So they'll be able to lay out the cable. So that gives high speed connectivity. So that's about availability region, availability zones. So you have you have regions and availability zones. Region is something contains only one data center minimum. Availability zones is something will contain at least three data centers. So this is how it is actually spread across globe. So and they have Microsoft has 60 plus regions representing 140 countries. So this number will change, because in Asia itself they have plans to build another 10 data center, 10 regions. So in Taiwan and in Malaysia, they have a plan to build. Okay, so in fact, this is the highest compared to any other cloud provider. Although AWS has actually started in 2006, close to 15 years ago, but still AWS doesn't actually have AWS still have only 30 regions. They don't have less than half of it. So they only have still 30 regions, but AWS still is a market leader, because they have a high market share. How AWS has got this market share is because when AWS started in 2006, there is no competitor. Sorry, there is no competitor. There is no Azure, there is no GCP, there is a IBM cloud, but IBM cloud is not actually providing wide range of offerings like services. So AWS is the leader there, so it has able to get a lot of customers. And Azure actually started in 2010, but initial 3 to 4 years it has a lot of drawbacks. They have to redesign the solution. So they actually came back again in 2013 or 14. So when Satya Nadella took as a CEO, came as a CEO, so that is when it started actually growing, and it has actually got a very nice share even now. So AWS has got 31% of market share. Azure has got 22% as per the latest reports. So Azure is able to reach AWS. I'm sure in coming years it might actually overcome overtake AWS as well, is my guess. So that's just my opinion, guys. So and you know how many regions GCP has? GCP has close to 14 regions. Yeah, 14 regions is almost a quarter of it, I would say, for Azure. So Azure already has, still Azure is still building regions. It's because Azure know the future of cloud, because there's still 50% as a gray area. Only 50% customers are into cloud. Remaining 50% are yet to migrate to cloud. So still, by 2023, they are expecting cloud business to grow by $500 billion. So that's a huge. Right now, you know how much business cloud business, how much revenue cloud business does? About $50 billion. So you have 10 times, 10 times actually, they are expecting. Let's move on to next slides. So by having these regions, Azure will actually provide a high availability for your servers. High availability, nothing but SLAs, like service level agreements. How does Microsoft will maintain that your server is always up? So they'll define some SLAs like this 99%, 99.95%. So various SLAs will have your downtime. Let's say if you purchase a virtual machine, you get SLA of 99.9, which is 43 minutes, 43 minutes in a month downtime that you're accepting. So this kind of SLAs Microsoft will define, and when you actually start using it, you're actually agreeing for these SLAs. Even Microsoft also will agree for the SLAs. Let's say if you purchase a virtual machine that offers 99.9% of SLA, and which is actually 43 minutes, 43 minutes 49 seconds in a month. If your server goes down beyond this time, Microsoft will actually give some additional money back to you, additional discount to you. So they'll ensure that your server does not go down more than this time. This time is basically for updates, to install updates, maintenance updates. But if you want to reduce this downtime, you have different options Microsoft provides. 90, so you can actually reach up to this a virtual machine. You can actually reach up to 99.99%. That gives you four minutes of downtime maximum. You can build a solution which gives high SLA. Coming to tools, what are the tools that you use to manage Azure? So as I said, Azure portal is a common thing that you use. And then Azure mobile app, Azure has a mobile app as well, but that doesn't have all features. Mainly what you can do with this is starting VMs is something possible. And if you already have some script with you, so you can run that script here. Then you have you can actually manage with Azure PowerShell CLI. PowerShell is something, as I said, a person who is comfortable with Windows will actually use this. A person who is comfortable with Linux will use command line interface. Then Azure Cloud Shell is a cloud-based tool, cloud-based browser-based tool. You don't have to install anything. It has pre-installed, command line interface and Azure PowerShell, so you can directly use it. It's a Linux machine, free BSD Linux machine. That Linux machine has these two tools already installed. So Microsoft will give this tool for you for free, so you can directly start using it. Then finally, you'll have ARM templates also. So ARM templates is mainly for that is actually infrastructure as a code, which actually will help you in automating stuff. So like a Terraform example. So now Microsoft actually came up with a different tool called Bicep, so which is actually has a lot of nice features, which is I would say a competitor for Terraform. I would say ARM has some drawbacks, but Microsoft actually eliminated those drawbacks in a Bicep. So you will actually give the input. Let's say you want to create a virtual machine from portal. You will actually give the inputs you create. You will enter all the details and you will submit it. All the details will be sent to this ARM. So Azure completely works with a JSON, JavaScript object notation format. So whatever the inputs that you give, those inputs will be sent to ARM. This ARM is like a API for you. So that actually will convert this inputs into a JSON format, JavaScript object notation format. Then it will actually send that input to a backend hardware. That's actually we call it as a resource provider. Those resource providers will send the request to a Fabric controller. That Fabric controller will create a virtual machine for you, and then it will hand over back to you Azure portal. That is when you get a confirmation saying your VM has been created, successful creation has been successful. So that is how it look like. and also Azure actually follows this defense in depth strategy. At every stage you'll have a security in place, starting from physical security for the data center, and then identity access, then perimeter, network, compute, application data. At every data will be completely encrypted. At every stage in Azure, all data will be encrypted, fully encrypted. So they follow this defense in depth strategy. Even if attacker actually attacks at one stage, one layer, he will not be able to enter into another layer. So because of the this defense in depth strategy. And sometimes security is also a responsibility of customers as well, because we have discussed about these responsibilities, right? IaaS is something will be taken care by my customers. So where customers responsibility completely on premises. IaaS is something Microsoft responsibility is only here. Customer responsibility will be here, like networking, operating system. Similarly, PaaS and then SaaS. So the responsibility, this is a responsibility matrix. What is responsible by Microsoft? What is responsible by customer? Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of theory we have covered. Any questions at a midpoint? We are almost done. Just a few slides left. Any questions that you guys have before I move on?
Yeah, hi. You have mentioned that REST API services are also involved in this. So how much level of REST API services would be required?
Actually, we don't actually. That is just yes. That service is there, but we don't actually cover that in Azure Administrator, because it's out of scope to Azure Administrator. So that will be covered in a development. We have a separate course, AZ-204. That's actually Azure Developer course. So there you will mostly use the REST APIs. But here we mostly use Azure Portal, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, then ARM templates.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, so let's say you already learned it, and then what will be your job roles and responsibilities? You will actually an architect will actually build an architecture something like this. He will design this architecture, like what components are required and how your architecture should look like. uh, Architecture like including all components, connecting all components, he will design a solution. Then he may hand over to a team, or he may also share the requirement. So we need this is actually a virtual machine architecture. It's a very basic one, but ideally architecture will be in a much complex way. So I'll show you how. So this is actually a multi-tier architecture. So where you have a multiple VMs involved. So where you have a load balancing. So you can actually take it as a website, a web tier, business tier, SQL tier. So you'll have a multi-tier application that is again balanced across two different regions. This can be in a, let's say in South India. This can be in a Central India. So you're actually balancing the load across these two. So using a traffic manager, this is a load balancer tool. And again, you have another load balancer. So you have a multiple. If you just look at this architecture, this is something will be designed by an architect. So and hand it over to a team. I mean, ideally, you just don't look at only architecture and directly start creating, but you'll start gathering information. Let's say I have this web tier. Okay, in web tier, how many VMs that you want me to create? If you want me to create 3 VMs, what are the configuration details, like which operating system you want me to build? What is the IP address that you want me to choose? What is the disk size that you want me to choose? What is the VM size? How many CPUs you need? How much RAM you need? All these details you will gather from the customer. Then you will start creating it, but you don't directly, looking at this, you don't directly go ahead and create it. And if you look at another architecture, which is a web application again, with a relational database. So this is how it look like. Again, so common thing, like, at any stage you're seeing multiple different components, right? So these are all components actually will be covered in as part of training. So if you look at this, we'll cover virtual machines. We'll cover load balancers. We don't cover traffic manager. It's a very simple one. I can even explain that. We will cover Active Directory, Bastion, VNet peering. Database is something is out of scope to us, so we don't I can show you how you can build, but management is something we don't manage. So these are the tools that these are. In fact, it has less number of tools, if you ask me. So you'll see much complex, setup as well. And here also we will cover most of it. So let's say I looked at this architecture. Let's say I looked at this. We can let us actually build this setup now right away. It doesn't take more than few minutes, maybe 5 minutes I would say. Let us build this right away. So let's actually gather the requirements. What do we need? First of all, we actually need to build a virtual machine. That VM should have a NIC, which is a network interface card. Then it also should need one public IP address to connect directly from internet. Then this should has one OS disk, two data disks, along with a temporary drive. This automatically comes along with the VM. Microsoft provides directly. Then we need one NSG for a security. This is a network security group, which is kind of a firewall device. Yeah, so these are the main things required, and these disks should be managed disks, not unmanaged disks. And then you also should have one diagnostic. You also should enable diagnostic logs. Those logs should be stored in a storage account. So this is the requirement for us to actually build this setup. Let us actually go to port Azure, and then let us actually try to set this up. Okay, so I am in Azure portal. So yeah, I read all the requirements, so I remember them. So I am going ahead and then creating the virtual machine. Let's say, because virtual machine is the key, right? So that is the main thing that you want to build. So let us actually create a virtual machine. So I mean, these details, don't worry about these details, like what is resource group. You might have a lot of questions. Don't worry about them, because I'm just trying to actually, we are trying to set up the environment, and I'll just show you that how you can actually build it quickly. But later on, while we are actually covering training, so I'll explain each and every component of it. Okay. So this requires a resource group. So let me give it. Then let's actually give some VM name, choosing South India as a region. So then let's select operating system. I'm going with Windows 2019, and let's select the size of it. So it's just loading, and then enter the credentials that you use to log into a VM. Maybe let me choose a different region. In India, we have Central India as well, right? So yeah, I'm going with this, and yeah, I'll show you this networking as well. So, and then I'm coming to disk. I'm using a premium SSD. This is a OS disk. I can use standard SSD HDD as well to save some cost. Now I'm going to two data disks we have to add, right? So let us create two data disks. Data disk 0. I am just choosing a smaller size and a standard HDD. I may be a little fast, but don't worry, because I'm just trying to show you this setup quickly. But I'll while covering training, I'll explain each and everything in detail. So I created two disks here, two data disks. Host caching, I can set this host caching concept. I'll explain later. So this will actually maintain some cache. In networking, I have my virtual network, subnet, and then public IP address I'm choosing. This is a public IP address. Then this is actually an NSG, network security group, public inbound. So I'm enabling port 3389 to actually connect to this VM um, via 3389, because RDP port is 3389. To RDP, to remote desktop to any server, you must have this port enabled on a security gateway, security group. And then, so here I'm enabling boot diagnostic. Diagnostic logs is something OS diagnostic logs is something suggested to enable. So I'm enabling diagnostic logs, and storage account I have chosen. Automatically it is taken as one created. And I think that's all. We have selected pretty much everything. So let us actually go ahead and create. Let's see how long does it take actually to create. You can even look at the time as well. So it's doing a validation. So you're seeing some price, right? So this VM, if you use, you'll end up paying 9.3 rupees per hour. So you can just, if you just need this VM for an hour, you just pay 10 rupees, less than 10 rupees, and you use it, and then you delete it. Then it's gone. So just 10 rupees you are spending to actually to set up something. But in a maybe if you want to do same thing 15 years before, there's no way for you to do it. In fact, you have to go to some internet center probably, or any other center where there are already servers. You have to just request them, pay some money. Maybe again that won't be like 10 rupees, at least 1,000, 2,000 rupees, and just use it for some time and come back. And if you want to have your own thing, so you have to invest money. So that's a huge benefit that I. And you have something like download a template of for automation. So because automation is something that you will actually do it later, but let us actually simply download it. So I'll show you how exactly it look like. So when you download it, actually don't get scared looking at this. We don't actually really deal with it much. So I'm just trying to show you in case if any person who is actually interested in automation, they can actually focus on it. But for administration, you don't really need automation like proficiency in automation, but slowly later on you might actually gain that knowledge. So I'm just clicking on create, and let's see how long does it take to actually create it. It's 340 UTC, so let's see how long does it take. Any questions while this is creating? So you're able to see the steps, what are all already created. So VM creation is in progress. We just passed 1 minute. This VM creation is in progress. Once this is completed, I think we are done.
Sir, how long is this course takes time in total?
Yeah, this course is actually designed for about 30 to 40 days, I would say. So
You mean an hour per day, 1 hour, 2 hours per day?
yeah, it's actually hourly, every day, 1 hour to 1 hour 15 minutes time. So this
Okay.
course, so hours will be 30-35 hours. You will see close to 30 hours
Okay.
is minimum that you will see.
Okay. And you said like 2-star and 3-star certificates. So what do you mean
Exactly.
stars?
Stars is expert level, like expertise, how much uh, maybe difficulty or expertness to show. So let's say, um, okay, let me give you an example
Sorry.
in a different way. Mm-mm. It actually
Sorry.
will show your knowledge. So a person who has a 2-star have less knowledge compared to a person who has 3-star. I mean, uh, like technically, but maybe a person who has a 2-star may have more knowledge, but until he actually gets certified a 3-star certification. 3-star is a expert level certification. 2-star is a associate level certification. So associate is someone who will work under an expert, under or along with an expert, I would say.
So we are doing a 2-star now. This is a 2-star thing.
Yes, we are doing a 2-star because 3-star is not a. There is no shortcut for 3-star. To reach 3-star, we have to actually finish 2-star.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any exam assistance will be provided after this course in order to complete the certification?
Yeah, no, I would say no direct exam assistance will be provided, but I am very sure that because this course is aligned in a such a way that officially, because I am a Microsoft certified trainer, so I am actually delivering content that actually, officially in a Microsoft, a corporate trainer will deliver. So exactly the same content is being delivered, uh, along with the demos and, a lot of labs and everything. So, but if you actively participate in the training, if you actually do assignments as and when actually assigned to you, so I am sure that you'll be able to clear a certification within a week or 10 days time, uh, once you complete this training. But if you ask me direct assistance from me, I would say no. But still, I'll next slides are actually are about certification, how you can do, what kind of questions you can expect. But I may not be able to give anything as dumps or anything as such. Is something is not encouraged by me, so I don't share anything as such. Any other questions, guys? We have enabled OS diagnostics, so that's actually taking, our VM is already created. You can even see it here. If you go to VMs, you'll see the VM ready, but in fact it is actually enabling. You have it already enabled, you have it already running. You can even, if you want to do a RDP, you can even RDP to it. But why it took more time, because we have enabled guest logs. For guest logs, it has to install certain agents to actually collect those logs. That is when it is taking time. So let us actually try to log into it and see if it's actually working or not. I think it seems it's working, so we are able to log in. Usually the VM creation will be a minute or two, not more than that. So even if you consider it's maybe a 4 or 5 minutes, that's still, very less time, right, compared to on-premise setup. Even if you include a VMware creation also will take some time, because I have knowledge into VMware as well. So I actually started my career as a VMware administrator, I would say. So our VM is ready. So it's as simple as that. Yeah, in fact, this is also completely. So now our VM is completely ready. So how you can see our architecture diagram, let's see. Let me go. There is one way to show diagram. Yeah, this is a typical diagram. It look like. One sad part is Microsoft doesn't give you any topology. It's like to cross verify what components that you have. Let's say I have shown you the architecture, right? So this is the architecture I shown you. In fact, we have built everything. We got our NIC, we got our VM, public IP address, 3 disks, 3 managed disks, diagnostic set logs we have enabled. NSG is also ready. Everything pretty much, resource group, virtual network, pretty much we have subnets, pretty much we have created everything. But this is actually an architecture diagram that an architecture has designed. Same architecture, you don't actually, you will not be able to cross verify. So you understand what I mean by, right? So you won't be able to get a similar diagram there. So but however, you'll get something like this. You have a VM, NSG, public IP address, NIC, and this is your subnet, this is your VNet, and the resource group is something is will be there on top of it. And then yeah, this is how it look like, a small typical diagram topology. You can even download it if you. That's about it. Let's actually go back to slides. I just need few more slides. I just have few more slides to cover. These are all the various services from Azure. So you have a wide range of services from infra. These are infra services. Yeah, you see a lot of platform services, but we don't focus on all of them. We focus on security, Active Directory, multi-factor authentication, Key Vault. We focus on backup, import, export is something we cover. Site recovery we cover, and then in web apps we'll cover. And then if you see here infra, so we cover everything, pretty much everything in infra. We'll cover IaaS services, each and every IaaS services. We cover some few of security, few of Active Directory, then few platform services. That's how the course is actually designed. Yeah, if you have a question, why should you learn only Azure? Why not AWS? Why not AWS, or why not GCP, or why not any other cloud provider? So this has been actually studied that I mean there is a report, there is an article, very nice article which talks about the skills, cloud skills demand over last 10 years time. So if you just see last 3 years data, year on year growth on for Azure demand is up by 50%, 58 percentage since 2017. Compared to cloud skills, general cloud skills is up by 29 percentage, and AWS alone is up by 14 percentage. So you're seeing Azure is actually rapidly growing the last 3 years since 2017, I would say. And then month on last 12 months, this is from September 19 to September, I mean 2019 to September 2020 during pandemic time. So how actually Azure has done, how Azure, AWS, or general cloud has done. So if you see, for starters, like someone like you guys who actually starts your job with the cloud. So general cloud trend is actually down by 30% during pandemic, last 12 months, and demand for AWS is again down by 17%, but demand for Azure is up by 15% because of wide range of products that Microsoft Azure brings up. You have a virtual desktop, which is a very popular thing during pandemic time, and you have a Teams. Microsoft Teams is another very good tool during that has actually become very popular in pandemic. So you have various tools like this. Microsoft, because Microsoft offers wide range of products, and also they are completely into IT. So Amazon is not they're not, that is not a primary business, right? So Amazon has various different products as well. In fact, GCP also has various different products. In fact, GCP gets more revenue from their YouTube. They don't get more revenue with GCP. So these are the various factors will actually influence. Microsoft is actually having advantage because Microsoft is purely platform company. Not Microsoft doesn't have a multiple different products. They are completely into IT. So that actually gives confidence to other customers to actually migrate, because a simple thing is, no a competitor would want to store their data in a competitive cloud. Let's say Amazon has e-commerce, so no e-commerce customer will actually go to Amazon, because that's actually that's a preference they'll go with. They might go with Azure or GCP. So GCP also has some products, so no competitor will again go to there. So that's actually simple logic. That is how Microsoft is seeing a huge growth. So it has almost reached 22 percentage, although it is late into the market by close to 9 years, but still it is almost able to reach AWS market share with a rapidly growing. That's about it. So this is something I told you already. 95% of Fortune 500 customers are already into Azure. So you can see the companies here, and it's a recent market share. So it's a Q1 2021, not a Q2. Q2 is I haven't seen that recently. So in Q1 this was 19, but in Q2 I heard that it was 22 plus hard. So AWS is actually 32 market share. Last 2 to 3 years, the market share has not actually grown for AWS. It is stagnant at same percentage. And it has been proven that any customer who actually migrate their environment for any organization, any cloud, it takes for them at least 10 years to actually think about again shifting the environment. It's not that easy. Shifting environment requires a lot of planning, a lot of things. So it's proven that at least an organization will take 10 years time to actually again to think about changing the cloud provider, or changing the setup, infrastructure setup. Probably maybe the time may come soon. So is what it's my opinion, guys. Yeah, so my certification study model. So I'll first focus on content knowledge, then I'll do a practical application with the labs, then I'll do a test taking skills. Like you also should have some test taking skills, because although you have good knowledge, if you don't have a time management, you'll not be able to pass. That is important. So you should also have some test taking skills. How do you gain these skills? You by writing at least 1 or 2 practice tests. How can you write a practice test? You have a lot of practice tests available out there. So you can go to Udemy, look for a practice test. And I recently I've shared one free Azure Administrator practice test, but I don't think it's available right now. But you'll get those practice tests. You have to attempt practice tests to get some test taking skills. Then Yeah, about this course, I haven't actually covered this course. So this is the course is outlined with 11 modules. This is how it is designed. 11 module we cover virtual machines, administration, networking, storage, monitoring. Serverless computing includes containers, Kubernetes, and then web apps. Identity, data protection includes backup, restore, disaster recovery. Inter-site connectivity is about connecting on-premises to Azure, like hybrid connectivity setup. Traffic management includes route tables, load balancer, application gateway, traffic manager. Governance and compliance is something includes policies and RBACs, logs, permissions. So we'll discuss all those here. So it's this is how it is designed. 11 modules, and the weightage look like this. You'll have more weightage into compute and networking, more weightage. So more focus will be onto compute networking because more weightage, and you'll also work more into these two areas even in your job as well. So higher the weightage, you can expect more number of questions. You'll get questions around 55 to 56, and that type of questions that you see in the exam. So initially, at least 4 to 8 questions you'll see with yes or no. You'll be given a question and then you'll be given a solution for it. So you'll be asked, does this solution meet the question, meet the scenario? Then you have to choose yes or no. You'll see some 4 to 6 questions like this. Then you'll have a single answer multiple choice question. So you'll be given a scenario. You'll be asked to choose one option. Then you'll see multi answer multiple choice question. So where you'll be given a scenario again, but they'll clearly mention choose two at least. So choose two or choose three. So this is something you have to keep in mind. If you forget this, if you choose only one, you might lose questions. That's where I actually specially bought this slide. So you have to select at least two. So then you'll have a drag and drop setup. So you'll be most of everything is scenario based. You don't see any practically lab oriented, like you don't have to log into a portal and you don't have to create something. Mostly everything is scenario based. So you'll be given a scenario, you'll have to drag and drop. Maybe you have to arrange the steps in order, or you have to arrange items. Yeah, mostly arranging steps in order is something you'll notice, mostly like a drag and drop setup. And then how do you take a test? You can take a test either sitting at home, or you can go to a local Pearson VUE testing center. So you can even either select the center, or you can you can write it from your home. In case if you're writing scheduling it at your home should the room wherever you're sitting should be clean, neat and clean. And because you'll be completely into a surveillance. They'll completely watch you until the exam completion. They'll even ask you to show front, back, side photos, or in a video calling they'll ask you to show. And then there shouldn't be any disturbance. They should not hear any noise, and you should have a good internet connectivity. So if you have all these, you can simply write the exam sitting at your home. I think that's pretty much about it, guys. So we have pretty much covered everything. Any questions that you guys have?
Hi, will this 30-40 days course will be enough to gain the knowledge for the exam preparation?
Yeah, so that's more than enough, I would say. So in 30-35 days time, I'm sure that provided I told you already, so there should be, you should have some commitment to actually learn it. Because however I deliver everything, I show you labs, demos, everything. So basically career IT team will actually share the videos to you, and along with the videos I have designed some student kit that contains lab instructions and also manuals. All the slides that I'm going to cover, all slides will be included, and some quiz questions will be included, some practice questions and some interview questions will be included. It's a complete package, kind of a student kit will be provided by Career IT. So that is designed by me. And if in 35 days along during this training time, if you actually follow along this training actively, and then you do all the assignments on time, I'm sure that so you can clear certification. Clearing a certification is a very big thing, if you ask me. A person, people who are already working as Azure administrator are still unable to clear certifications, guys. So that you can think about it. So I know few friends who are actually uh, working as Azure admins but haven't actually cleared a certification. They couldn't. They are unable to clear a certification. So if you're able to create a certification without actually working onto it, that brings a lot of confidence to you. So that is when you can actually get a job immediately and you can work confidently. So you'll be able to clear a certification with this course, is what I can say. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so I think in case if there are no other questions, we can wind up for today. I think for more details, please do reach out to Career IT team. So they will actually help you with the batch starting date and further details. Yeah, Bala, I saw you unmuted. Anything you want to ask?
Yeah. What time basically you're planning to start this batch?
Yeah. This actually this batch, if I'm not wrong, this will start on Tuesday, coming Tuesday. And the batch timings will be 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already now. It's 4:30. I mean, I'm in Europe now, so I'm
Oh,
actually
okay.
looking for like 8 o'clock demo is already 4:30 for me.
Okay.
6:30 IST is already like 2 o'clock for me. Yeah. I will talk to Career IT or maybe let's see
Please,
another batch.
please do talk to Career IT once, and probably maybe we can actually come up with a different plan. So yeah, that's
Yes.
something maybe after discussion with Career IT.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks to all of you for taking time and attending this. I am hoping to see you in the training. Thank you, everyone.